Welcome to the Be All In podcast. My name is John.
My name's Rebecca.
And on this podcast, we're going to discuss what being all in means and what being extremely accountable means, and extreme ownership, extreme everything, being extreme in life, and some characteristics and virtues that you and I have picked up along the way. We've been married since 18 and we met in high school. So we're 30. We're 30 now.
One of us is 30. One of us still has a couple months.
Sure. Yeah. But it's about everything we've gathered here and everything that's led us to our successes, and some things we've learned along the way and some things that we learned to not do along the way as well. So hopefully we're able to inspire some of you guys to invoke some questions, inspire inquiry, to ask questions in your life and figure out where you want to go. And hopefully we can help you get to that location.
Yeah.
So just briefly starting with our story, you and I met when we were, I think I was 16, you were 15 maybe?
In high school.
Yeah, we met in high school up in good old Pennsylvania. I cheated off her in class. Our last names were really close together, so
sat behind me.
I always sat behind her. Great spot for cheating on tests. Yep. So, and
it's pretty cute, so I let him.
Yeah, she says that, but you can't stop somebody looking at your paper. So, and we met in high school, and that was real difficult too, because we just didn't really know who we were. Our families were kind of, I would say, conservative in a way that they didn't let us really get out and explore and try to do our own things.
We were high school kids, but we're very adult ever since we were both little. So we always wanted to take care of more stuff than we were able to at a young age, and that was super frustrating because we wanted to do it all ourselves and in privacy, and parents are controlling and school's controlling.
Yeah, it just didn't really fit either of us, and we wanted, like you said, we wanted to do our own thing, and the system doesn't really let you do that.
It's like a hard change. As soon as we met and we were like, oh, this is my person, it was like the rest of the world got shut out, and it was just the two of us, and that was it, and that's all that mattered. Yeah,
and we can speak on that just briefly too. When you do figure out that you're passionate about something, like passionate about a thing, an event, or a sport, or a new type of music, or another human being, when you become passionate about something, it does seem like the entire universe is testing you to see how serious you are about this passion. Yeah. And it just throws a ton of hurdles in your way.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to hit the hurdles and get back up and keep going. And we did. Obviously, we're still sitting here today, 11 years later after being married, about 13 years after meeting each other, right? For the first time.
Together, 14.
Yeah, something like that. They all blend together. But after we got out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps, and Rebecca ended up being a manager at a retail store that she loved so very much. And while we were figuring out the Marine Corps and figuring out how to move down and what to do at 18 years old, we ended up just renting a U-Haul and moving everything down.
It was crazy.
North Carolina.
I remember working multiple jobs at the Crossings, a huge shopping mall while you were in the Marine Corps, and I would secretly buy stuff on sale for our home and just stash it underneath my childhood bedroom because I didn't want our parents to know we were getting married or that we were moving out and moving in together.
That's wild. When I told my mom that we were getting married, she wasn't too. I mean, and granted, like, I don't know.
Kids.
I'm not a parent, so I don't know, but like, I don't know. I was kind of a knucklehead. I still kind of am. Yeah, so like, I'm figuring it out. So I could imagine from their viewpoint being a little bit like, oh.
They both were just nervous, not only for us to get married at a young age, but move away so far at a young age.
Yeah,
too.
We moved from Pennsylvania to North Carolina here. So, I mean, it was a decent move for us, and we were off on our own. At first it was like, we didn't know what to do, and we were just kind of at the beck and call of the universe, and whatever happened. We just went with it because we knew that's what we wanted. As long as we were together and we were figuring it out, anything can happen, and we'll figure it out. We ended up moving on base, and TT2. It was real nice housing. We lived on base, and it was way too much house.
Too much house.
That was my first experience with real life credits and debts and money and finances,
and interest rates.
Yeah, and I would go in really early in the morning to the armory, and you would be home. You were unemployed at the time.
So we had like this weird transition where, not a transition, but you kind of grew up where like the wife stays home and the husband takes care of everything and works. But like we were 18, so it's not like we had any kids or like a house to take care of. So I had a nice vacation for about 2 years, I'd say, of just sitting on the couch waiting for you to come home.
Yeah. And we were 18, 19. Yeah. We didn't really know anything. I think the fridge was like stocked with Monster and Yahoo and
whatever it's called.
Chocolate water.
You're figuring it out.
Yeah, and we didn't really know what we wanted to do, but I ended up going on deployment, and that was real difficult for us. But I came back after all of that travel and decided I no longer wanted to be in the Marine Corps. I became super passionate about hair out of nowhere, and just like the podcast name Be All In, dove into hair. It was wild. I was like, I like styling hair, and I like the confidence that it brings people. It almost like amplifies the person's characteristics and allows them to conquer more things in life than just being a dude. Now I'm a dude with nice hair, and I did see it. Yeah, I saw it like change lives a little bit. So I was like, I'm gonna be compassionate about that and see how I can help people doing that. And just around that same time, my hair started to thin real bad, and I can't remember where we were living at the time. I think we were off base at the time. We were living in an apartment. Yes, apartment. Didn't really know what I wanted to do other than hair. The Marine Corps didn't give me a fat paycheck for leaving, and my hair was falling out all at the same time. You were working double shifts at Chuck E. Cheese as a manager, and trying to right here in
Jacksonville,
North Carolina,
and the birthday party coordinator. So that was real fun managing birthday parties. I joke, the managing Chuck E. Cheese was not fun. The birthday party was the best.
Can you hit number 3? I think she hit number 3. Wish the sun wasn't in my face. It's wild. Maybe if
there's the cats for us.
Yeah. Okay. So, you managed the birthday parties. I remember going in and seeing you at times, and it was real dark for us then too, because it's like people think like everything's good because everything seems to be good type thing in a relationship, but like grinding is grinding. Like it was a lot of work. It was a lot of wear on a relationship and a lot of wear on like us individually. Yeah. So, and I love the saying like hustling, like bragging about hustling and grinding and stuff like that.
You're just straight surviving.
And that's the thing about grinding is like when you're actually grinding away at life, and you're just like, I don't say hustling because I'm not like selling shit out of the back of our van and stuff, even though I was. But you know what I mean? I wasn't like trying to scam people over. I feel like hustling is like a scam word, but grind is a good term, nose to the grindstone type thing. But when you're grinding, you do not have the luxury to brag about grinding. Yeah, that's the opposite of grinding.
Luxury. It was like, this is what I need to do to survive. I'm gonna do it. But I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to post.
I'm not going to brag about it. I'm not
going to do it.
Yeah, I'm ashamed of this almost. We're selling our plasma, getting out. So anyway, we're separating out of the Marine Corps. My hair is falling out. I realized that it was like all chemicals. Like the products we were using was just full of chemicals. We had like Tresemme and Johnson & Johnson and all these Old Spice, Axe, all of these products that were in our house that were just like literally killing us. Like it was causing us to have headaches, causing us nausea, causing us to have like dry skin irritations.
Horrible nutrition too on top of it. Fast food left and right, not caring what we ate, not working out, not drinking enough water.
And all of that snowballs and it compounds on each other. So one bit takes place of the other, and then it just keeps stacking. And then you start feeling sick. So you go to the doctor and he prescribes you some pharmaceutical medication that makes you feel even sicker. And then there's blah, 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 or it helped with your headaches. But now your feet hurt all the time, or you have arthritis now in your lower back out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like I had back spasms randomly on some meds. So it was just like, it's weird that the symptoms we gave up for stuff. But anyway, I realized that the symptom was my hair was falling out, and the root cause with the chemicals in the products, because my genetics are fine, everything's fine, other than the dieting, which obviously had to change as well, which helped as well. So I started to toss all that stuff out, and then we sat down and we were like, what's the other option? Like what do we fill our house with now? There's no soap in the house, and there's no hairstyling products, and like I said, I was getting really big in hair products. So what do we do? And then let's make organic things. Let's try to like solve this ourselves.
You're a huge researcher. Like ever since like I've known you, you love to research, you love to gain a bunch of knowledge, and you love to teach it to others. So that's like really, I think where like your passion kind of clicked for you. It was like, how can I make this product myself? Let me just start researching a bunch of things and testing it out and making a lab in the house.
Yeah, and I did. I made a lab in our kitchen out of our stovetop, out of the double boiler I used on the stovetop. But I looked at the products we were tossing out, and I said, how can I replace these? Well, let me see what ingredients I can pronounce, like water and beeswax and coconut oil and argan oil and all these different types of things. And unfortunately, I did see petroleum on a lot of the products I bought. So I bought petroleum thinking it would be like it's natural, right? And I went down a whole rabbit hole because I'm like, petroleum comes from the earth. So why isn't it labeled organic and why is it labeled natural? I don't understand. Then I started to learn that anthrax and snake venom and asbestos are all naturally found. However, they are not sourced organically. They're not made and found, like nurtured to be organic ingredients. Also, you don't want asbestos in your soap. It's not really a good thing. So I had to decipher the difference between organic and natural. I stuck with only organic things that we could forage ourselves. However, we don't have bee farms here. You and I don't have coconut trees in our backyard, right. So I needed to buy these ingredients. It cost money. Money was not a thing we were just in abundance of because we were separating out of the Marine Corps and we were not making the best decisions when it came to.
We were in a lot of debt.
We lived in a trailer. Like we barely could afford that. You know what I mean? That was real rough. And then eventually we hooked up with Nick and Allie and ended up taking it to the next level after I figured out the formula. And it took years of us suffering and selling everything we had and selling plasma. Our car got repoed.
Kind of being in this rut of wake up, go to work, be miserable, get through the motion, survive, and then do another day. And it was just like, what is the point of this?
It was a long process. And then we never saw each other. We didn't see each other at all.
I remember there was specifically, it was almost 2 weeks we did not see each other. Like literally did not see each other at all because our schedules were just constantly opposite.
Yeah. I worked at, I got out of the Marine Corps and then I humbled myself because nobody wanted me to work for them. I guess I was just like, I'm a Marine. You don't want me? It was a terrible mentality. But eventually I got a job at a gas station and I worked nights and I went to barber school as well. So we never saw each other because he worked during the days and I was gone at nights.
Yeah.
So it was wild. And you also got home after late. I worked. I would stay home and I would cook products.
Yeah.
And you'd come home to a trashed kitchen. I was set fires going on and stuff like that, and random pomades and ingredients in the fridge, and there's some spills I didn't clean up.
It was perfect though, because I brought home Chuck E. Cheese pizza almost every single night.
Oh man, it was
to survive off of.
That was probably not perfect, but it fed us. It did feed us. It was either that or ramen noodles, and in every single part of this, every single thing we did, like every step along the way, it seemed very natural because we were all in. We were extremely accountable for everything we did. I didn't want help from anybody else. I didn't want to, granted, we didn't really have many people that would help us at the time. You're right. But we wanted to build this on our own and we wanted to be solo. We wanted to do this, build this without having a massive amount of people to like just help us and hold our hands along the way. And we did learn a lot of hard lessons selling our plasma twice a week and
credit cards.
I found out if you don't pay for your car, they come for it. Yeah. I found out that that's a real thing.
Then you have to pay way more to get it out.
Yeah, and then the tow company, all of that stuff. But
we want to change it for the world.
Yeah, and so we went and did that for about a year, maybe a little bit more than a year, and then we ended up making the formula for the pomade, making the pomade really, really work well. It started growing hair back, not just for me, but for a ton of guys at the barbershop that I worked at. Yeah, and then I started doing more aromatherapy, mixing different fragrances together, seeing how they affect people's moods, and people loved it. They absolutely loved it. However, though, it cost me probably more money. It cost me like $5 or $6 to make a jar, and we were selling them for 10. And
if not giving them away,
I'd be like, if you buy 2, I'll give you 1 for free. Like it was like terrible. I drove to Connecticut. I drove to the capital here constantly. I ate the cost for shipping. I would spend so much time at the USPS trying to package stuff. But then eventually, right when it got real dark, I didn't know what to do. I was Googling how to file bankruptcy. And obviously, like in our relationship, like we didn't really see each other. So we weren't working on us. And as a man in this society, I thought it was my job to take care of the bill solely. It was my job to like take the faults for this solely. And it wasn't really like a partnership. It was like, I'm leading the ship and you're just kind of taking care of it, which is like 100% wrong, by the way. Like that is not how a marriage works. But I was too ashamed to tell you that I can't afford the car. Our phones are going to get shut off. My credit cards are going into charged off status, and my credit score is getting bad. It was actually so bad that I had to get a green dot card from the gas station, and I had to put cash into it because I was scared that companies were going to take from me. Like I'm scared that because if I owed the bank money, they would come directly for my money. And they did, you used to do that.
That did happen the whole time. We had a joint account, and then we had separate private accounts. his private account went negative, so they pulled money out of my account to cover it, but then that made my account got negative, so we both got hit with an overdraft.
It was like a $35 fee. We went there and asked them about it, and they told us, yeah, that's because you owe us money. And I was like, yeah, but I want to pay you when I want to pay you. That's not really how banks work. So that was a lesson we learned as well. But as I'm Googling how to file bankruptcy, I'm thinking about, what if I find like some dudes that are like celebrities, but not really celebrities, and they push the product? What if I can get photos of them with the product? Maybe that'll
help get it out more.
So I reached out to the top 3 World Beard Championships peoples, and number 1 and number 2 told me that I can't make enough product that would supply for their beards. So get lost. But number 2 also said, hey, I know this dude. His name's Nick Kumalatzos. Go and reach out to him. So reached out to him a couple times. We finally got in contact and we partnered. Got the website going, got everything going, the store going, and that was in March of 2018.
Yeah.
And today is February 1st, 2024. So it's been 6 years.
Time, yeah.
It's been 6 years of us learning and going back and forth with this. But being solely accountable and being all in is the only thing that got us to where we are sitting right now. Because if we gave up at any point during the time, which there were plenty of times that I wanted to give up, there are actually every morning for about 3 years, I wanted to give up. Not just on like the business and the idea, but life. I was just so exhausted. We both were just so tired.
Stuck in a rat race of what's the point?
Yeah.
Going through the motions, trying to get through a day.
And of all places, Jacksonville, North Carolina. So we were just in this rut, and it seemed like everybody around there was also in the rut. So it was just a thing that we thoued was life, and it was just
we had like these blinders on, where it was like, this was it. There's no other options. There's no other viewpoints, or how it is.
And the one thing we definitely knew for sure was we didn't want to go back home. I saw a lot of people that got out of the Marine Corps, and their almost first instinct was just go to live back with mom and dad. And I thought that was real weird.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do any part of that at all. I wanted to be a dude.
Independence.
Yeah, we wanted to be grown-ups and do our own thing and start our own life and build something that we wanted. We both had visions of who we wanted to be, but
we love the beach too. So it's like,
right, yeah,
we're here.
Yeah. So I think mainly this podcast is going to be about some characteristics and some virtues that we've inherited and gained from other successful people, people that are chasing their passions and creating their visions in their worlds as well. And some hard lessons that we've learned along the way that I hope you guys will avoid.
Yeah.
Like your car getting repoed and having to sell plasma and charge off credit cards. And I will tell you, like, even today, my credit score is still affected by those decisions.
Forever to get that.
Or maybe those lack of decisions. Yeah. So let's fast forward to today. Today was eventful, correct? Like the business is... we started doing this in our kitchen in 2016. It was summer of 2016 when we started doing this and burning stuff up in the kitchen. Today we have 21 team members. We have 21 team members and 4 executives on the team, which is
21
massive.
All of us.
Oh, okay. Well, then 21, including 4 executives. And that's the whole company. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
That we go from making just like 20, I think in a week, I would make like 10 to 12 products, like at home when we cooked in our kitchen. And today alone, they cooked like 1,800 pomades or something like that, plus 700 shampoos. Like it's some absolutely ridiculous. We went from making like 1,200 SKUs a year to almost 1.3 million a year SKUs, like individual products. So things have definitely grown. What is one of like the biggest things you think led to how the growth has come? Because we can see it from like today, where we have 21 people on the team and we have this much revenue, we have 8,000 orders a month, and we have blah, 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 right? We can see that. But then we can also, you and I have the unique opportunity because we lived the life from when we were in high school. What do you think is like one of the characteristics, other than extreme ownership and extreme accountability, that like led us to be here today?
I think also our stubbornness. We're both extremely stubborn.
We'll change that word to tenacity and perseverance.
Okay,
we'll use those words instead.
Just like persevered. See, I'm not good with words. To just keep pushing forward. We didn't want to go backwards. We wanted to just keep moving forward and do something better.
Okay.
We kind of knew something was there. So I think just us wanting more and just keep pushing for it.
Yeah. Okay.
And working on it daily. Like we both, even before it kind of clicked in our heads, we both had extreme ownership ever since we were young. Like even when something wasn't our fault, we were like, is that my fault?
Oh, like taking blame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I could have prevented that if I would have talked to this one person, even though we didn't even know that was a thing or that person existed. So I think we had extreme ownership way back ever since the day, but we really tapped into it with how we started changing our words. As this is really remember, I forget what the issue was, but we were both training at the gym and an issue popped up. And for whatever reason, we were like, all right, well, it's a good issue to have. Like, it means we're growing and we're doing something that people are noticing us and coming to us. So I guess this is...
Yeah. We started saying good problem to have.
Yeah. Just we flipped our mindset instead of like, oh, this sucks, I have to go deal with it. Hey, at least I'm at this size that I have this problem to deal with. And it's only a problem if I think it's a problem.
Yeah.
It could just be an opportunity for another outcome.
I don't have to. I get to.
Right. I get to. And that was a huge thing too, like changing mindset. But definitely too, I think one of the best parts of Johnny Slicks is all the people we've been able to meet throughout the way. 'Cause especially me, I had a very sheltered childhood and, we didn't meet many people different from us. So even just meeting you and your family when we started dating, it was like, whoa, like people live different than me. I've never heard of that before. So getting to meet different people and seeing their mindsets and just realizing everything's not so cut and dry. There's so many different avenues. I think that was like a huge success for us.
Yeah.
Or something that's helped us be so successful.
I got you. So, then talking about extreme ownership, like casting blame or feeling like casting blame onto yourself or like devouring the blame when something goes wrong is one thing, but because I feel like anybody can do that. And I feel like many people do that. Yeah. The difference is when something does happen to you, can you instinctively say, I deserved this, or I put myself here. Like
high causes. Like
the shoes I'm standing in, the place I'm standing in. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're in a hospital bed, if you're at the number one top podium, if you're accepting an award or at rock bottom, it doesn't matter where you are and what shoes you're wearing. But can you instinctively take accountability for being where you are? And I think a lot of people can't, or at least a lot of people
they choose not to
struggle with that concept.
Yeah.
Because when people get into a car accident or they get diagnosed with diabetes or they get something that's negative, people immediately cast blame externally.
Yeah.
If they lost the big race or we can use a car accident, for example. If someone gets in a car accident, people are immediately to blame other people. Yeah. However, you chose to wake up late today. You chose to go to McDonald's to get fast food and eat while going to work.
I mean, there's that 1 week we got speeding tickets.
Yeah.
in the same week.
And I can be sure you can cast blame all day and be like, that guy was out to get me and blah, blah, blah. And the world is against me. Like, but at the same time, look at all the choices that led you up to that decision. It might not have been you. Like, I'm not saying like if you got stabbed walking down the street, like you're like, oh, it's my fault. But however, you did choose to walk down the street, right? Yeah. Like it wasn't like you weren't forced
and like, here's to the thing, too. Blaming other people.
Yeah.
What does it do? Like, you did this to me. Like, yeah. Okay, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, you can't control their actions, but you can choose how you react to them and to the situation. So pointing blame doesn't get you anywhere. Pivoting will get you wherever you want to go.
Yeah. And that's what's shitty, too, is a lot of people will cast blame onto other people, like externalize that, and then sit on that. 4 years. Like there's people who are like sitting on something that happened to them years ago, and they're still sitting on it, still casting blame to people and still saying it's not their fault. However, they it is a victim mentality and not a victim mentality, but like to just sit in bed, complain, and just hope that somebody's going to come around and be like, hey man, you ready to get back on your feet? I have a foolproof way you can do it. Like that's not going to happen. Like nobody's going to do rehab for your knee. For you.
Right.
You have to get up and go do that. Yeah. So it's like being extremely accountable just puts you back in the race. And I use metaphors all the time. Like if you're running a race and there's 6 hurdles or 5 hurdles and you hit the first one, right? You're not going to make every single one every time. Like you're going to hit a hurdle. It's bound to happen. That's why they're there. It's challenging. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you hit the first hurdle and you fall down. Do you see Olympic racers stay down and then start pointing at the coach and pointing at the guy who put the hurdle there? This hurdle was closer, an eighth of an inch closer than it's supposed to be. It's my shoes. It's the shoe. Like, they don't. They instinctually bounce back up and keep going. And I do know for a fact that in Olympic sprinting, you can hit hurdles and still win gold. It has happened before. So like, how does that apply to our lives now? You can mess up literally every step along the way. But if you keep getting back up, persevering through it, and having that, what you call stubbornness to not stay down, is a thing, man. Like, you get hit in the head and you fall down in the ring. Like, it's something to say when the person just keeps getting back up. You're like, damn, that guy is not only nuts, but he's strong.
Got something.
And that dude, I guarantee, is fully accountable for everything in his life. If he went down, or he can't afford a bill or anything at all, I am accountable for the feet that I am standing in, the shoes I'm standing in, and I am accountable for the things and the actions. But then, however, we can flip it and go to the other side as well. Extreme accountability is being accountable for the actions you make. But there are also the actions you did not make, which you are also accountable for as well. So when you choose to make a decision, or you choose to not make a decision, you are also accountable for the things that you didn't do. Right. So say you see someone being bullied, right? Just a simple example. You see someone being bullied and you choose to not take action. You choose to not stand up for what you know is right. You're accountable for not taking action, and you're accountable for the actions that could have happened. Yeah. You could have spoken up. Right. Say you did.
Right.
You did speak up. You're also accountable for the opposite of that action. If you choose to be accountable, I believe that is how life is. That's just how it is. And you have to be aware of both sides in order to make a proper decision at the time.
And when you're also down, or when you're dealing with something, that's like the most you learn. Like, you get so much knowledge on yourself and how you can handle situations, but also like the situation. 'Cause it's like, okay, this happened. How do I prevent this from happening again? What can I do in the future? And you learn. That's where you learn the most.
Yeah. I was just talking to Nick about that on his Always Forward podcast. We in this society, for some reason, confuse highs and lows. We picture highs like when someone says, I mean, and to an extent, I do understand it. If you live life to live and be happy, you call highs like graduation, your honeymoon,
things you
the promotion at the job, things you get greeting card, or anniversary cards and certificates and all of those things. If you consider life to be all about happiness and gathering things, then yes, that makes sense. But if you are actually pursuing a life that's full of growth and knowledge and servitude, then you don't learn shit when you graduate school. You did the learning, right? Yeah. You don't learn shit while you're getting high. You learn shit at rock bottom. Yeah. That's when the learning happens. However, in our society and culture, we've something happened where they flip it, and now we praise and we worship labels and certificates and all these things, and we look for those.
We almost want to get the certificate for the appraisal, not for the knowledge and everything that comes with it. We just constantly want recognition and praise from outside people, not
external. Yeah, to like justify our internal emptiness. But like, as I was having a conversation with someone about this, I don't understand it, and bear with me if this confuses you initially, but like at school, right? There's honor roll, and there's you get praise for being an A student, right? And being a good student doesn't mean you're smart. It just means you're
follow the rules.
You're good at being a student.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people. I mean, I consider myself smart. I sucked at school. That's not the point. What I'm saying is that praising people for being a good student takes away from the actual trophy, the actual award, which is learning. So if you start to give people awards for coming to class, they're praising now and chasing the honor roll system. They're not chasing, can I learn today? Right. How much did I learn? So essentially, when a kid goes through school, I don't think there should be a celebration when you're done. The celebration was the learning. That's the trophy. Yeah. Let's see what you learned. Yeah. That should be your standard, and that should be your character.
To be successful.
Can you use it? Yeah, right. So like, and people, obviously, martial arts competitions and all that stuff, like, imagine not getting a trophy because you're not chasing a trophy. You're chasing the challenge and the growth you get during the match. Like, it doesn't matter who's on top, who's the number one, who got more points than that one. Yeah, who's on third. So it doesn't really matter who submitted this person, who got more kicks to the chest on this. That really doesn't matter when you're looking at characteristics, because really it's what happened during the match, not whose hand got raised at the end.
And I think that's
you don't learn anything then.
So many people are too busy going through the motions just to get to the finish line that they're not present in the moment and they're not retaining everything and applying it to themselves.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Like when I love racing, so it's sprinting. So when somebody is sprinting, when you're racing, if you just stare, or Nick said this too, he climbed Mount Rainier in Montana. So he said that one of the things he dramatically learned there was you cannot look straight up. You can't look to where you're going. You have to look at the next step. Yeah. So like imagine doing a race or on a track. Like you can't look at the finish line. You'll be looking backwards. You need to look at where your feet are going to go. You need to look at the next step.
One step at a time.
Look at the hurdle. Look at the next hurdle. Like prepare for that. Obviously, you need to know and have a vision of yourself crossing the finish line because that's the outcome you are desiring. But yeah, cool. Figure it out. Find your vision. Figure out where you need to go. Point the direction in that way. Point the boat that way.
Yeah.
And then just put your head down and start going to work on it, taking the action and going. You can look up every once in a while, readjust, sure, but don't stare at the finish line.
Well, this is like a whole nother thing we can get into, freaking multitasking.
Yeah, no, the facade of multitasking, how it doesn't exist. Yeah, it's impossible. The human brain physically can't do it. That muscle memory is something completely different. You can breathe and walk at the same time. However, you cannot breathe, walk, write, have a conversation, and tie your shoes at the same time. You also can't do your taxes while eating dinner. I learned that. And also, you cannot do any of these things. You cannot text and drive.
Yeah.
Your mind can only be targeted on one thing. Yeah. It's not a 50-50 ratio. It's not I'll apply 20% of my energy to my hands so I can write while being on the phone. Like, just have a conversation with somebody be present. Like imagine if you and I are here and my mind is elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like you're not multitasking. You're focusing on whatever you're focusing on. You can only target your mind like a spotlight. You can only put it on one thing. And muscle memory is completely separate. Like there's people who, like there's a reason you can drive and not need to look at your feet. Like our body has like evolved to be a certain way, but for survival, but you cannot multitask. So like trying to look up, and I say it every time we go hiking in the woods, you're either looking up at nature or you're looking down at your feet hoping you don't trip or planning to not trip, I guess. So you can't do both. You can't look up and enjoy the scenery and also be head down, focusing on your feet, making sure you don't trip and eat shit. You know what I mean? Like you can do one and then the other, but you cannot do both. And I find a lot of people fail their goals and at least don't put everything they have into it because they're attempting multitasking, and it just doesn't exist. There's no way to do it.
Just working on one thing, they're working on millions and nothing's getting done.
Yeah, the saying, if you chase two rabbits, you catch neither. Yeah, like if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. Like there's a reason those are so dualistic and they contrast each other. It's you're either in or you're out. There is no gray. Life doesn't have gray areas. You're either yes or you're no. Like all machines, you're either on or you're off. There's no like kind of on, kind of off. Like there's no kind of in, kind of out. There's no kind of accountable, kind of not accountable. You're either all in or you are not in at all.
Yeah. I think another huge thing too that kind of led us to our success and being where we're at is holding each other accountable and wanting to do better for each other and wanting to push each other to get more. I'm not saying you can't do that on your own, but it does help when you have a partner and somebody that you're passionate about. You don't want to let them down. You want to give them everything and be the best that you can so that they have a good life and make sure they're taken care of.
Yeah. You have to hold the people you love accountable for the things you care most about.
Yeah.
If you really do care about people, you'll hold them accountable for them being a dude that says the same thing they're going to do. So like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if I say I'm going to do something, I need you to hold me accountable. Ipso facto, same thing. And that's how we get to where we are. And that's how we get to where we're going to want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that, guys, if you made it this far into the podcast, thank you so much for listening.
Thanks so much.
This is the Be All In podcast. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. And I will get the lighting fixed in here because it just dramatically changed, and I can now see. I can now see you, my lovely wife. I can now see you. Cool. Hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, every other thing there. I appreciate all of your guys' support, and I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for the next one. We got a lot of stuff coming up.
You want us to hit on, talk about, share your insights on.
Yeah. We got tons of experience, and we've gone through some pretty hard lessons. and we're willing to share it all with you. We're very transparent and honest with our communication, and I hope to hear about. There's probably like 3 of you guys watching this and listening to this, and I appreciate all 3 of you guys. Love you guys.
Even if nobody listens to it, we've got it for ourselves.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Well, this has been the Be All In podcast. Thank you guys for listening.
Have a good one.